Hi everyone, I hope everyone is doing very well and stays healthy and motivated. Today I'm going to talk with a friend of mine through Zoom about expectations, about one's expectations about yourself and other people's expectations about you. That's a very important topic that has an impact on basically everyone. So let's just jump straight into Zoom. So Oleg, thank you very much for joining me for this conversation. Okay, Oleg has been a good friend of mine for quite a while. And as it seems, you have lots of stuff to say about self-development and maybe personal growth. And today we would like to talk about expectations in general, how people have expectations on us in our personal life, in career, or in romantic relationships, or just basic relations between people. So it's a very generic topic, and you have some thoughts on it, and I think this is a topic that just has an impact on everyone, because at the end of the day, everything is about relations and how do we manage people's expectations on us, what's good about that, what's bad about that. Just lay out your thoughts on it. What's your point of view about expectations and managing expectations?
Yeah, so I think the subject which is very close to me is managing expectations, and not just managing other people's expectations, but managing our own expectations of ourselves, because whatever we expect, that will be eventually a definition whether we are happy or not. Why? Because if we don't achieve what we expect of ourselves, whether it's at work or in our relationships, in both romantic and non-romantic relationships, that is what is gonna determine and determine our levels of happiness and life satisfaction in general. So I think to sort of broadly, you can categorize the expectations that we have for ourselves between work and relationships. And relationships, when I say relationships, it leans more heavily on romantic relationships, because our friendships, they struggle less because we have fewer expectations of our friends than we do of our romantic partners, whether they're boyfriends or girlfriends, husbands and wives. And the main reason why we struggle is because we have this idea of perfection, and a lot of people, they want perfection for themselves in their at workplace, in relationships, but the idea of perfection for human beings in general is beyond us. Why? Because inherently every human being is flawed, and anything that is just the idea of human being a fallen creature, the idea of fallenness is a really good starting point. Why? Because from that point onwards it can only go up. And workplace wise, sort of the balance between work and relationships is that now we're expected to be satisfied at workplace, in work, but also be satisfied in relationships in our love life as well. And those are both pretty new ideas. If we look back in time through, let's say, a couple of centuries back, people were not expecting to be happy in the workplace. People knew very well that work, you do it for money, sense, to pay your bills. Work was not supposed to be enjoyable. People were not expecting to be happy and jolly in their workplace. So that is a new idea in itself, to be satisfied and have enjoyable career and a job where you can self-express. People were just doing it. People knew that their enjoyment would come in their spare time, in their leisure time, outside of working hours, basically. And the other main idea, which has changed vastly in the last couple of centuries, is being in a happy relationship, i.e. to be so much for one another. People used to have marriages, and people would get together because they wanted either to take their social status onto a next level, or they wanted to join someone's plot of land, which is to a neighboring plot of land. So a lot of marriages were arranged. The two main things that have changed with these new ideas of being satisfied both in the workplace and in romantic relationships is, first of all, people are turning their hobbies into their careers. So the idea of hobby went out of the window, which was what was occupying people in their spare time outside of work.
But you would of course say that this is a good development, that we grew out of it. For example, that people used their jobs first for survival or just for functional matters, just to make money back in the day, and now it's more about finding a fulfilling job and fulfillment in life. And would you say this is a better development? It's a good thing.
It's a good thing if you know how to achieve your expectations and how to get to a point where you want to be for yourself. So when I say managing expectations and how it relates to levels of happiness and life satisfaction, it comes down to how good are you at recalibrating your expectations of yourself or things you want to achieve.
So your expectations to yourself, right?
Yes, expectations to yourself, what you want for yourself, and where you want to be relationship-wise, career-wise.
Would you agree that those expectations should be realistic first, in the first place, right? We should have something that is realistic for us, and because, everyone could say, okay, my goal in life is to be a celebrity or to, jet on a plane all the time. I mean, this is possible, but these are unrealistic goals for most of people. So you're saying have realistic goals first and strive towards those.
Indeed, yes, it's because now status of a celebrity and wealth is very much publicized, but the chances of you becoming, let's say, a billionaire is less than you winning a lottery. To draw sort of a line to a comparison, the chances of you becoming someone like Mark Zuckerberg, who founded Facebook, or being as wealthy, for example, as he is like you joining the ranks of aristocracy back in the 18th century. If you have not been born in the right family, if you don't have the family status, you're just not going to become a royal, or you're not going to join a monarchy in that day. It's just that impossible. It's just that impossible. But now the problem is that the feeling in the air is different, and people feel like there is opportunity and that they can make it. Why? Is because let's look at someone who is the head of the founded Google. Those people who, let's say, Elon Musk or Mark Zuckerberg, the problem that they dress and they look very normal. They dress in jeans and t-shirts, and they say when they're being interviewed that we're just like normal people, we like barbecues, we like our families, and you feel very related to them. And when you feel that you are briefly like someone else, that's where envy starts. So you can only feel envious to someone who you feel equal to. So those guys, although they've been extremely lucky to get where they are, and just not even drawing on billionaires alone, but people who achieved incredible celebrity status, they have, it's the equality that you feel towards them because of how they portray, and they say, we're normal and you can make it. But it's very unhealthy to live in an environment where you feel like you can make it and then you don't, and then you're being really harsh and hard on yourself.
So these are the expectations that you have. They should be realistic and applied to your own life. And tell me, how do you see the relation between your own expectations and other people's expectations? Because you talked about your expectations about yourself and your life. But how is it with other people's expectations? Is this something... there might be a discrepancy between what you expect from life and from yourself and what other people expect from you. For example, you want to make a certain career, you might make certain career choices, and for example, your parents might disagree with you. That's especially important for young people. Or you might be maybe a struggling artist who loves doing what he or she loves, but people think he or she should find a different job profession. These are just examples, and we could quote many of those. How do you see it? How should people deal with that discrepancy between your own image of yourself and other people's image of you?
Yeah, I think it comes down to our desire to gain approval of other people. And when I say other people, that includes society, family members, friends. But for me, it comes down to being honest with myself. So I think if you are, let's say, going with a career path that your parents wanted for you. Maybe they wanted for you to become a doctor, but internally you realized or knew or know that you want to be an artist or you want to be a racing driver. The more you suppress what you really want for yourself, the more it's gonna outburst sooner or later. So the more basically you push it, you suppress it on one end, eventually the more it's gonna come up on the other end. So when it comes to pressure, feeling pressure from others, it's more about being honest with yourself and not so much trying to deliver on other people's expectations and their wishes and wants for you, but to be honest with yourself and explain it to other people and stay true to what you really want for yourself. Because if you are 50, 60 plus and you realize that actually you've spent your whole life doing something you're not even proud of at the end of it, there's just simply no time machine and you just lie to yourself, and it's basically like voluntarily, in my opinion, drinking poison. You shouldn't be doing that. You need to own up to your own life, to your own expectations of yourself, what you want for yourself, and drive towards it. And other people, hopefully, they will either gain understanding, they will be on your side. If they not, if those are naysayers, friends of yours who say no, you cannot ever become a blogger, you can never ever make a living being a freelancer, that is just going to hold you back.
Okay, so you have to be loyal to yourself, and always, even if it means you have to go against other people's opinions, because at the end of the day, you can only make others people's as happy as you are happy yourself. So you should strive to reconcile both your own happiness and other people's happiness, and other people's opinions shouldn't matter to you. Would you agree with it? Like, in a way, care about other people, but don't care about their opinions about yourself. Would you agree with it?
I'd say partially, because I think, like with everything else, it has to be balanced. So I'm not saying do what you want, be bad kind of selfish at every conceivable moment of the day. No, it's like with everything else in life and in nature, it has to be balanced. So it's situation dependent. And let's not forget that it's in everything, in every area of life, we compromise. Compromise is noble. So if the situation calls for a compromise, that maybe you do this job that you really don't want to do for a couple of months just to get to the next stage, to allow for you to get to where you want, you should be willing to compromise. And without realizing, we all compromise in every aspect, every area. So you compromise in your career, you compromise with maybe in your friendships, in your love life. So compromise is noble. So it's a balance between the two.
That's great. Do you have anything else to add to that, or maybe some kind of advice to especially young people that you would like to say?
Advice? Yes, I do. Advice is about not striving for perfection, because perfection unfortunately does not exist, but to realize that the alternative to perfection is not failure, it's good enough. Good enough is something that lives between the perfection and failure. So you need to make peace with the ideas that things are actually good enough. You can be a good enough worker, you can be a good enough sibling, good enough parent, good enough lover, and that ordinary things through a perceptive eye, that's where the best of life happens. And not to allow yourself to live in the future, but to realize that life is happening here and now. So to make peace with what you have, and as to quote my favorite saying, which I tell myself almost on a daily basis, is that a poor person is not the one who has little, but the one who does not have enough. So don't be a person who just does not have enough of everything you can imagine, everything you want for yourself, but realize that actually what you already have going on for you in your life, it's probably what thousands, if not millions of other people are dreaming.
Thank you, Oleg. I think that's the great conclusion and great end sentence. So thank you very much for the summary and for your thoughts on that. And I hope that could help people very much and could also inspire people. So again, thank you very much for your time and for sharing your thoughts.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
You're welcome. That was it. I hope you found this very inspirational and motivational, and that you could get some insight. I hope Oleg is going to be a guest of mine at another time. If you like the video, please drop me a like and remember to subscribe. Stay tuned and see you next time.